Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's podcast. The name of the podcast is The Spiritual Relationship. My name is Ken Hanneman, and this is my wife, Dr. Anne O'Hare. And the topic today is becoming emotionally mature. I'm sure you have heard people telling you, or you might be telling someone else, grow up. It's time you grow up, become a man, be an adult. This words, emotional maturity, people talk about intellectual intelligence, Then
Mm.
later on, you hear about emotional intelligence. In spirituality, though, the sign of growth is actually being emotionally mature, being able to manage your emotions, take responsibility, being self aware, sort of understand the way you affect other people, and being able to manage your reactions and your attitudes and your feelings in such a way that other people feel safe in your company or in the family, in any relationship. It's a responsibility, right?
Yeah. When we were talking about this, it might seem like maybe a simple topic, but it's actually, I think, quite deep because how many of us grew up in homes where everybody was fighting or
Mm.
there was a lot of arguing and a lot of misunderstandings and a lot of anger and a lot of sorrow and a lot of crying and screaming and whatever.
All right.
I mean, whatever, I don't know. Some people, I'm talking about generations like we grew up. Maybe different, it's different now. It's possible that it's somewhat different, but now we got the screens and nobody's talking to each other. Who knows what's
Yeah.
better, right? But I'm talking about what I understand, which is the kind of emotional immaturity, emotional instability, and the havoc that it plays in relationships.
Yeah.
It wreaks havoc in
Yeah.
relationships.
Like people have certain characteristics or traits, or the habits that they grew up with, and they sort of accept this is who I am, and they expect other people to accept them as they are, but not realizing that if you're causing pain in a relationship, if you're causing people have to be afraid to be around you, or people are not sure whether you're happy or I don't know. It's like people have to walk on eggshells around you, and therefore that's not healthy for the relationship. One thing that I've seen, I mean, from my own experience in meditation, you become very introspective and you begin to you're looking at your thoughts, you're looking at your feelings, you're looking at these, maybe you're reviewing your behavior in different relationships because you would like to you would like to enjoy relationship, you would like to have friendship, you would like to be able to cooperate with people, and in any task, in any team, you want the team to succeed, the family to succeed, everybody to have a good relationship. And for that to happen, what meditation did for me is it really helped me to grow up.
Yeah.
Mm.
Can I just say before when we were talking about this, I was saying spiritual practice is the way to grow up. Relationships are where you show it.
Yes.
So relationships are not going to help you grow up.
Mhm.
If you're already an adult, let's say. We're not talking about children here. We're not
Right.
talking about physically growing up. We're not talking about human development or childhood development. We're talking about adults
Mhm.
who are maybe emotionally immature. I'm speaking about myself. I'm not talking about like other people are emotionally immature. I was
Mm.
emotionally immature. I was very kind of needy inside. Maybe I was overdeveloped in other areas, like maybe overdeveloped in terms of being able to speak or overdeveloped in terms of being able to perform or do actions and things like that. But in terms of maybe what you were talking about, being cooperative, being able to feel comfortable with people
Yeah,
or
empathizing with people.
yeah,
Be,
or not even like people being comfortable with me. I was not even aware of it at all.
yeah, that's the thing. There's
That's
no
emotional immaturity.
Yeah, when there's no self-awareness.
And then you get
Yeah.
then if people bring it up to you, you get
Defensive.
defensive.
Yeah, you get
And what's
defensive.
that about? Fear. Because
Yeah.
you don't feel, I don't feel strong enough or I don't feel able to handle it. I can give one quick example. One time I was in a meeting at work and we were in a big room and I of course think I'm like the greatest thing ever and I
Mm.
know the answer. I already figured out the whole problem and I have the vision to have fix it. So I stood up and I shared the problem, how to fix it, like everything, the whole thing. And then it was kind of what do they call it? A mic drop, like a mic drop moment. There was nothing to say after that. And I sat down, and I was fine. My boss came over to me afterwards and she said, you hurt so and so's feelings. I was like, what are you
Mm.
talking about? And she said, she wanted to share something. She wanted to participate and you didn't let her participate. I said, what do you mean I didn't let her participate? I didn't even talk to her. I was just being myself. Can you
Right.
see how that's immature?
Yeah. You're not.
Like, it's
Yeah. Not
not
sympathetic.
mean or bad,
Right.
but it was definitely immature. I mean,
Yeah.
now looking back, would I feel better about myself if I had let other people participate too? Yes.
Right.
But in that moment, I was just thinking, I'm doing my thing. And I think that's what happens with emotional immaturity. I think you're thinking like a child,
Right.
like you're
And
just doing your thing. You're
it,
thinking like a child. But as an adult, there are deeper responsibilities and deeper
yeah.
obligations.
Like I'm looking at, say, siblings. You fight, you play, you have great times together. But as you grow up, we have other problems, or your sibling might be in their own family and so on. But we still need support from each other. So rather than keeping old wounds, sometimes you remember that this person hurt you and you carry that all the time with you. And then you don't really make an attempt to reach out or to grow up. And what happens is that you don't really get a chance to develop that relationship to a point where each one of you can take the support of each other and feel that you can lean on each other anytime, because life can be difficult and
Could we
challenging.
call that healthy?
Yeah,
Could
that
we
would be
call
a
that like a
healthy
healthy
yeah, that would
relationship?
be
I
like a
mean, maybe
healthy
a healthy relationship.
relationship, you know?
Can I just interject one thing? How does, because I said before, maybe you can talk about how does spiritual practice help us grow up?
Yeah. Oh, actually, that, like I
That's
said,
the answer.
yeah,
That's the
I was
solution.
I was really fortunate to come into the spiritual knowledge or into meditation practice at a very early age, because what I found is that the spirituality enables you to turn the attention within. And when I say within, it means like you're aware of your thoughts and your feelings and your reactions and your attitude. The thing is that when you're in a group, you have a lot of examples around you. Not everybody is perfect. There might be one or two. Always, you will find some people are very good in with certain behaviors and certain virtues or good qualities, while they might have some weakness in some areas. But the thing about being in a spiritual group or about constantly studying and having the goal that you would like to become more resilient, you would like to be more calm, more peaceful. Even people would worship saints and people who are, you can say what, they're in this society, they're like lights, you
Mm.
know? So why is it? I mean, why they're able to do that and why I might still have difficulty in relationship? So in spirituality, in meditation, when I go deep down into myself, become more self-aware, I am realizing that if I have the goal to become cooperative or helpful or empathetic, then I begin to see that certain words that I use, certain language, certain reaction, I realize that some of those habits that I probably had growing up, they're not appropriate, or maybe they need to be polished, they need to be improved upon. Sometimes a simple thing as changing the words, not being impulsive.
Mm. Impulsiveness is a big
Big
thing.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And learn how to handle criticism. Develop some
Yeah.
humility. Being able to be patient within. Know also to learn how to set boundaries in relationship appropriately.
Appropriately. Mhm.
Because there are times that people can become like a pain and, they might not be willing to change, and they might be
Mm.
very dependent, and they want you to be always at their beck and call, or you should be serving them or put up with them. But you might say, no, I don't need to do that because I might be enabling your behavior because you're not exactly helpful to yourself. And maybe you're causing some problem in the team or in the group. So you set boundaries in those cases. So spirituality has actually helped me to think more of others, to listen more to others. And then I realize when I have that patience or that maturity to be able to pick up that I can actually give something to this person rather than spend my time proving to them something, or I want them to listen to me. I
Like,
know what is right. You don't
yeah.
know.
Like
Or
you're complaining that you're not getting what you want from them.
yeah,
Instead of complaining that you're not getting that we're not getting what I want from them, I start being sensitive to what I can actually
they
give
give.
and provide.
Yeah.
That's emotional
That's
maturity.
emotional maturity.
When you're
That's
starting to
great.
turn it around.
Yeah.
Child has to take, right? Immature means I have to take. I don't have anything to give. I'm not grown up yet. Grown up means that I actually feel like I'm giving something. I have
Yeah.
something to give.
I mean, that's the thing about a child becoming a teenager,
Hmm.
and that's what you expect them to be, right?
Yeah.
But there are some examples if you between husband and wife where one of them still they're very sensitive, they are very reactive, they yell and get into a rage easily, or they have so much they feel the wife should behave this way, or the husband should be this way, and there's a misuse of authority, all
Yes.
because you have some power in a family or in a group. People who are immature tend to misuse authority,
Mm.
and then the whole team, the whole family suffers because of that.
I'll give one last point and then we'll probably wrap it up after this. But the one last point I thought of, how does spiritual effort and spiritual practice help us grow up? I think because true in what we're studying, the way we see it, that we're learning, the spiritual knowledge that we're learning, spirituality really is about being independent.
Yeah,
I think that's a foundational principle. You're becoming independent. You're not asking for anything anymore. You're not depending on anybody anymore. It doesn't mean you don't interact. It doesn't mean you can't cooperate or participate. It just means that internally, personally, I don't feel like I need anything. I don't feel like I need to take anything. And what does that do? That means I don't need to manipulate. I don't need to get angry. I don't need to. You see how that works?
yeah,
It's a really interesting thing. The more independent I become, and how do I become independent? I take a look at my thoughts and feelings. I take care of myself. I set boundaries or whatever, and I become independent. So two things happen. One, I stop manipulating and getting upset and reacting and whatever. And the second thing is I start to realize it actually and get sensitive to what I can give. And that's
yeah.
when we turn it around.
Right. And then when you look back at your life, you're happy that you did that
Yes.
because your relationships are preserved. People's vision of you is one of respect or regard.
And at the end of the day, you love yourself. You
Yeah.
feel good about yourself. I mean, how many of us can say that nowadays? That you really feel good about yourself. I really feel spirituality is the way that we learn how to feel good about ourselves again. And that's emotional maturity too.
Yeah. And when people are quick to anger, the reason why people become angry is because they don't have any control over the situation, and they're trying to use violence
Mhm.
to control the situation.
Or you could
And
say
it
they're
doesn't,
afraid and then they
and,
don't know what else to do. So they're
okay.
lashing out because they don't feel
Yeah.
like they don't know that they can do anything about it. So they try to control by stopping the situation
Right.
or whatever. But either
Or
way, you can see how that's a kind of a limited, we're calling it immaturity,
mm,
but it's a limited, it's unfortunate because a lot of violence and sorrow comes out of that.
yeah.
It's unfortunate.
There's another thing too called passive aggressive.
Yeah.
You know,
I don't know anything about that. What is
I
that?
was thinking,
Please. I was the queen of
yeah. But I'm glad that
sarcasm, the queen of
yeah,
sarcasm. Oh my gosh.
there's so many ways we play
No,
this
but I
game, the
wouldn't talk because then what
manipulation.
about making jokes? Hostile jokes, okay?
Right.
So, can I say I'm sorry. Hostile jokes,
Yeah.
sarcasm. There you go.
Yeah.
Guilty as charged. I shouldn't
No,
tell you, but
all of us,
but see,
but
we're laughing because we all have it. This is the point.
yeah.
Maybe we can end on this. This is the point. We all have it. We all have to grow up. Maybe we had one limitation or another growing up. Maybe we weren't able to work on our feelings before. Maybe we had difficult circumstances. Maybe whatever. With spiritual practice, you're learning I'm a soul. My nature is peace. I'm learning how to look at the mind. I'm learning how to quiet myself. I'm learning how to take care of myself. And as I do that, my self esteem grows, my
Mm,
confidence grows, and then begin, like I said before, it starts to shift and I begin to be sensitive. And then, of course, I'm going to
mm.
do what's there to be done.
Yeah, you wake up every morning and you're a student. It's a
Yeah,
great way to start the day.
very good.
Good.
All right. So, should we stop there?
Yes.
Okay. So, I hope that gave you something to think about. It's an interesting topic. I think we
Mm,
talked about it pretty well. So, thank you all for joining us today, and we'll see you next time. All right.
thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.